What's going on YouTube? It's Desode here. Something that I've always wanted to do is learn to slope soar. So I've been using this simulator called Picasim, and I got one of my Devos hooked up to that, and I've been practicing it. And I've got an old Ascent glider that the motor mount broke, it's been repaired, Finally I just took the motor out and moved on to other planes. But I got to thinking, it's only 3-channel, but good for finding a small slope to be able to learn some slope flying on. And so I'm headed out right now, got the cam on, gonna see what happens. I went out the other day, and by the time I got to where I was going, all the wind was gone. So got another day where it's a little bit windy, and I'm gonna go try a couple spots, see if I can get enough lift off of a couple small, almost like meadow slopes. And then maybe if I don't get anything there, then I'm gonna go search for some other places. So anyhow, probably gonna be doing some of these here on the side. Not gonna go away from the quads. Tomo Quads rocks. Gonna stick with doing that. Got a couple more frames coming here very soon, which I mentioned in another video. The Micro and then the Punisher. So that's coming up also. But in the meantime, like when I got windy days and a little bit of free time, I'm gonna go try doing some adventures in sloping. All right, so off we go. This here real quick, I'll show you the plane. This was an older glider that was from E Flight. It's called the E Flight Ascent. It was, like I said, originally a powered glider. I did put, you can see right there, I put some foam and wrapped it in some extreme packing tape to kind of cushion the nose for any rough landings. Well, this here is my first spot that I'm gonna try. And I've been out here a couple times looking for wind. This is a family's cabin business, and we got what's called the lake, the Diamond Lake down in the bottom there. And then if you look over here at these trees, I've noticed, kind of watching the wind too, that those trees are always moving. So, kind of got a little low spot down there to the back end towards the dam of the lake, and the wind's coming through there and hitting this bank. So I think this is gonna be the first spot that I try today. Okay guys, so some closing thoughts on this episode. This is the first episode of what I'm going to do in my spare time, which is kind of a series of adventures in slope soaring, and it's also more geared towards starting out is learning to slope soar. Everywhere I've looked on the web, yeah, there's some articles that I've found that I could read, but like all the video of like actually showing learning to slope soaring, there's not, they want to charge for it, and there's not much information out there. I love my quads, and I'm going to continue to do that. That's going to always dominate my channel, I think. But, on those windy days, this is something that I've always wanted to do, and it's something that I want to share with people that want to learn to do it and can't find videos or don't want to pay the money, can't afford to pay the money to get into this. And so this is something I'm going to do. As for today, I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't, the conditions weren't completely optimal. Like, I don't think I had enough wind, but I think with the 3-4 mile an hour winds that I did have, I did probably 20 throws, and in that low level of wind speed, I was pretty impressed with the ascent in this, in this genre of the hobby. It really held up well. It kept lift well, and I made the decision today also before I went was to take the run cam and throw it on my hat and show some of the attempts to do it. And I think that was really good. And if you're learning to do this, I think that that's something that you should do also. And the reason being was, as I pointed out in the caption on the final best attempt that I had of the day, I found some spots where, I was generating and seeing that lift. And it was more down towards the water and the blacktop road down there. And I think probably cool air coming across the water combining with the blacktop and the heat coming off the blacktop, and then that being blown into the slope. And there's also a little bit more of a secondary slope on down there. I think that that's probably a target area that I'm going to focus on to come across that lift. If you watch that last video, every time I get down there, it would start to rise. So it was worth moving around that field, and I probably did 20 to 25 throws today, and I finally found that one area and those spots that were generating lift. So that's something that I'm going to focus on here in the future, and hopefully I'll have some more wind with that also. One other thing is, make sure you check in the description. I'll have a link down there for the Picasim, which I hope I'm saying that right. I'm probably not, but it's an excellent simulator for sloping. I think it's probably one of the best out there. It's completely free. I highly recommend that you make a donation. They put a lot of work into the physics of that. It'll run on a low grade PC, so that's really cool too. And then you can also crank the graphics up enough that it looks pretty decent on even a newer computer. So take your radio, plug it in, and even if you need to get an adapter, you can get those on eBay pretty cheap to connect your actual transmitter to the computer and use it in the simulator. It's well worth the investment. And I'll wrap this up. Final thoughts is what sloping is. If you're just looking at getting in this, you have an area where the wind is blowing up and hitting a slope. And it doesn't matter whether it's like today we were in a meadow slope. Some of them are steeper, clear up to a cliff. When that wind comes up and it hits that slope, it rises up, and that creates a cushion of air as it's hitting the slope and coming up and up. So what you do is you try and find the areas where that rising air is, and then you ride back and forth, kind of like surfing on a wave on that rising wall of lift. So we're going to get into that more in the future. This is just kind of an introduction. And I want to thank you guys for sticking around, checking it out. Maybe it's something you'll be interested in, maybe it's not. But, the channel will always be dominated by doing my quad building. That's my bread and butter. I love doing that stuff, so don't think that isn't going to be there. But anyhow, enough rambling on. Thanks for sticking with me, And I appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe, leave a comment. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to help you out, as always. All right, this is Desert out. Happy flights, guys.